Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, well, we're tackling something pretty huge, a real shift in how we understand search, I think. It all stems from that massive internal data leak.
Oh, absolutely. For years, so much of SEO felt like guesswork, right? Relying on correlation, intuition, sometimes just hoping for the best.
Exactly. And then suddenly, boom, May 2024, Google's own Content Warehouse API documentation just appears online.
Yeah, it was kind of unbelievable. And not just a few pages. We're talking over 2,500 pages, 14,000 attributes detailed. For people in the industry like us who've been watching signals for ages, it wasn't entirely new information, perhaps,
Hmm.
but it was this moment of like profound clarification, vindication even. Seeing the actual engineering behind years of sometimes, frankly, public denials or careful phrasing from Google.
Right. So our mission today really is to cut through all the online chatter and piece together a unified theory, a theory of link value based directly on this technical blueprint, moving past just theories.
We're looking at the mechanics.
Exactly, the mechanics. And the core idea, the thing we really want you to take away today, is that a link's power, it's not fixed, it's dynamic. It's constantly being reevaluated based on, well, several factors.
And the documentation really points to three big forces, kind of interlocked, that control this value. First, there's the overall authority of the site linking to you. Second, validation through actual user clicks on that linking page. And third, the factor of time, how things like freshness and decay play a role.
Authority, clicks, and time. Okay.
Understand those three and how they interact, and you really understand modern link building.
Okay, let's dive into that first pillar then. Authority. The leak confirmed something people have argued about for ages, didn't it? This metric, site authority.
Yeah, that one caused a stir because for, what, a decade? Google reps consistently said we don't use domain authority, which was technically true.
Because domain authority is a third-party metric, like Moz's DA.
Precisely. It was clever wording, semantic obfuscation, really. They didn't use Moz's DA, but they absolutely had their own internal site-wide authority metric, and they called it site authority.
Okay, and where this metric showed up in the code, that was significant too, right? You mentioned it was in the compressed quality signals module.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's telling because it sits alongside other historical quality signals, things like Panda to motion, remember the Panda update?
Oh yeah, site-wide quality hits.
Right. And also positive signals like authority promotion. So its location tells us site authority isn't just about backlinks, it's a holistic score. It reflects the overall quality and health of the entire domain.
So the quality of my whole website impacts the power of any single link on my website.
That's the idea. It's like an evolution of those Panda principles. A healthy, high-quality site inherently passes more powerful link signals, full stop.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And sticking with this idea of site-wide strength, the documentation also seemed to confirm this concept of homepage trust, right?
Yeah.
Is this the technical reason for that sandbox effect we always talk about?
Absolutely. It looks like it. The PageRank score of a site's homepage is considered foundational. It's factored in as a baseline for every single page on that entire domain.
Wow, okay. So when you launch a brand new site,
It starts with 0 homepage PageRank, essentially 0 foundational trust.
meaning every new page, no matter how amazing the content, inherits that 0 baseline, which makes it incredibly hard to get traction initially.
Precisely. The sandbox isn't some mysterious penalty, it's just .math. It's the consequence of having low initial authority. And strategically, this is huge.
Also,
It means investing in high-quality, authoritative links directly to your homepage is probably the single most efficient way to lift the ranking potential for your entire site. That homepage trust radiates outwards.
got it. Build up the anchor, the foundation. Now, the original PageRank was a bit abstract, maybe, but the leak showed an evolution, something called PageRank nearest seeds, or PageRanks. What's that about?
Right, so this is a more refined concept. Instead of just looking at all links, PageRank calculates value based on how close a page is in the link graph to a predefined set of highly trusted seed sites.
Seed sites, like what?
Think major universities, government websites, maybe top-tier news organizations.
Yeah.
Establish recognized authorities. The goal isn't just collecting links anymore, it's about reducing your link distance to these trusted seeds.
Huh. So link building becomes less about quantity and more about proximity to trust.
Exactly. You're trying to map your site closer to recognized authorities on the web's trust graph. One link from a site that's only one step away from, say, a major university could be worth far more than 10 links from isolated blogs.
Quality and connection over sheer volume.
You got it. That's pillar one. Authority. It sets the foundation.
Okay, foundation built. But it sounds a bit passive. You mentioned the second pillar is user clicks. Is this where things get active,
Hmm.
where the real world validates the link?
It really is. And honestly, this might be the most impactful revelation from the leak. It shows link value isn't guaranteed, it's conditional, it's gated by actual user engagement.
Gated? How so?
The documentation points to Google using distinct tiers for its link index. Think low, medium, high quality. This seems corroborated by an internal system called segindexer. And here's the kicker.
Oh.
If a page that links to you has 0 clicks recorded against it, the attribute is total clicks. That link gets dumped into the low-quality index.
And what happens in the low-quality index?
It's effectively ignored. It passes no page rank, no anchor text value, might as well not even be there.
Wow. 0 value. Just like that. That completely upends the old strategy of getting links on like those massive old resource pages that nobody actually visits anymore, doesn't it?
It does. We used to think age plus authority equals power. But this leak says no. The link only gets activated, pulled into the high-quality index where it counts, if the page it's on gets real user clicks.
And how does Google know about these clicks?
That seems to be the job of NavBoost. It analyzes click logs, apparently looking at a rolling 13 months of data to see what users are actually clicking on and engaging with in the search results.
And there was a specific metric within NavBoost that caught people's eye, right? Last longest clicks. Sounds like dwell time.
It really does. It looks like the technical implementation of dwell time. If someone clicks a result and lands on that third-party page and spends a good amount of time there, that's a strong positive signal. It validates the page, the content.
And crucially, the links on that page.
Exactly. It signals user satisfaction.
Okay, the strategic implication here is kind of mind-blowing. The value of my backlink depends on the user experience of some other website.
Pretty much, yeah. That third-party page needs to be good enough, engaging enough to earn those last longest clicks. Suddenly, the quality of pages linking to you becomes a critical factor for your own rankings.
You can't just get the link and forget it. You need that page to actually get traffic and satisfy users.
Right. It changes the whole outreach game. You're not just asking for a link placement anymore. You need to ensure it's on a page that people will actually see and use. Maybe even a page the publisher actively promotes.
Fascinating. Okay, so we have authority setting the potential, clicks activating the value. What about the third piece, the link itself, its anatomy?
Right. Pillar 3. The leak detailed the simplified anchor system. It shows Google looks at internal and external anchor text profiles separately. There's even a specific attribute, num-off domain anchors.
Why separate them? Risk management.
Seems like it. The system is clearly designed to spot unnatural, potentially manipulative external anchor text profiles. But since you completely control your internal links...
You can use internal linking to balance things out.
Exactly. Let's say your external profile looks a bit aggressive, too many commercial anchors maybe. You can strategically use your internal links using branded or generic anchors to dilute that to make the overall site profile look more natural when the system analyzes it.
So internal linking becomes a tool to actively de-risk your external profile. That's clever.
Yeah, it's more than just site structure. And on the flip side of anchor text, there's the penalty side. The documentation mentioned a specific penalty, anchor mismatch demotion.
Okay, mismatch. What's that targeting?
It's a direct hit if the anchor text of a link doesn't align topically with the target page it points to. This basically confirms the death of the old trophy link strategy.
You mean getting a link on a huge authority site, even if it's totally irrelevant?
Yeah. That doesn't fly anymore, apparently. If the anchor text is, say, best running shoes, but the page it links to is about cat food, that mismatch can trigger this demotion. The whole chain, source page topic, anchor text, target page topic, needs to be semantically relevant.
Relevance is key. And Google looks really closely at the context around the link too, doesn't it? Things like full left context and full right context.
Absolutely. They're analyzing the words immediately surrounding the anchor text to understand its local meaning, its context. It's incredibly granular.
And it's not just the text, but the presentation.
Seems so. The documentation mentions AVG term weight, which apparently takes into account things like font size and bolding. So making a link visually prominent might actually give it more weight algorithmically.
Wow.
And even geography matters. They look at geolocation. Links from the same country or region as the target site seem to carry more contextual weight. It's all about signals of authenticity and relevance.
Okay. Author, clicks, anatomy. That brings us to the final force, time. How does the value change over time?
Well, it's definitely not static. The leak confirms a system called Freshness Twiddler. Its job seems to be giving a boost, maybe temporary, to newer content.
Meaning links from brand new pages have more juice.
Initially, yes. It strongly suggests that older links naturally decay in value over time, which leads to a strategic point.
That you need a continuous link building effort.
Exactly. An always-on approach, like ongoing digital PR, content marketing that consistently generates fresh links, seems way better than just doing big one-off campaigns. You have to constantly replenish that decaying value.
Keep feeding the meter, basically.
Pretty much. And speaking of time and change, there was another fascinating detail. Google seems to have a specific memory limit when analyzing a URL. It only considers the last 20 changes made to that page.
20. That's specific. Why?
It likely serves a couple of purposes. First, it stops people from gaming the system by taking an old, powerful page with tons of history and suddenly redirecting it to something completely unrelated just to pass link equity. The system looks back 20 changes and says, wait, this page is about something else now.
Okay, that makes sense. Is there an opportunity there too?
Definitely. It gives you a path to a clean slate for a problematic URL. If you've got a page that's underperforming, maybe it had spammy tactics applied in the past.
You can fix it by making enough changes.
Right. If you make more than 20 significant quality updates, major rewrites, adding substantial new sections, changing structure, and get them indexed, you can effectively push the system's memory past that problematic history. It allows the URL to start fresh, in a sense.
20 meaningful updates for a fresh start. Okay. And finally, under time, there's enforcement against speed, right? Link velocity.
Yes, the anchor spam penalizer module. This seems to focus specifically on unnatural patterns of link growth. It uses velocity metrics.
Like how fast you're getting links.
Exactly. It looks for HARP spikes, deviations from your site's normal rate of link acquisition, metrics like phrase rate, the average daily discovery of spammy anchors, and spam probability flag this up.
So if my site normally gets, say, 5 links a month, it suddenly gets 50 in a week. Red flag.
Big time. Even if the links themselves look okay individually. The system sees that sudden, massive spike, especially if it involves commercial anchors, and flags it as unnatural. Aggressive velocity trips the defensive filters. It confirms that a natural profile is also about a natural rate of growth.
Okay, so let's pull this all together. Authority, clicks, anatomy, time. What's the big picture strategy that emerges from all this?
I think it boils down to a new mantra for link building. It's not just get links, it's earn clicks on pages that link.
Earn clicks on pages that link. Say more about that.
Well, that link you worked hard to get on some old dusty resource page. If no one clicks on that page, your link is essentially worthless step in that low-quality index. But a link in a fresh news article, one that the publisher promotes, or maybe your own team pushes traffic to,
That gets clicks.
it gets validated, activated, pulled into the high-quality index almost immediately. That's where the value is.
So it demands a much more integrated approach, doesn't it?
Yeah.
SEO can't live in a silo.
Absolutely not. Technical SEO needs to ensure the site is fast so users don't bounce bad clicks. Content teams need to create stuff people actually want to read and spend time on, last longest clicks. Outreach and PR need to get placements on pages that will get seen, and then marketing might need to promote those placements to kickstart the engagement.
Everyone has a role in making those links valuable.
Precisely. You know, for years, the advice has been build a real brand, create great content, earn your links. This leak basically shows us the technical blueprint for why that advice works. It's not just feel-good advice anymore. It's literally engineered into the system.
The ability to purely game the system is diminishing. The path is building genuine authority and engagement.
It really seems that way. It's been technically validated.
Okay, so to wrap up, the leak confirms that building a genuine, authoritative brand that users actually seek out and engage with isn't just good marketing, it's good technical SEO, hard-coded into Google systems.
Exactly. And maybe here's a final thought for you to chew on. If the real value of your backlinks now depends so heavily on the user experience and the traffic happening on hundreds of other websites, how does that change your outreach? How do you secure not just a link placement, but ensure there's an ongoing audience for the pages linking back to you?
That's a fundamental shift in thinking, something to definitely mull over. If you've ever, tried to rank a website against any real competition, you'll know the topic we're diving into today. It's foundational, often complex, and frankly, sometimes a bit terrifying. link building.
It absolutely is. It's arguably the single biggest engine behind competitive SEO rankings. And, well, the whole process is often misunderstood, isn't it? Especially by people who aren't doing it professionally day in, day out.
Yeah.
So our sources today, they draw on decades of real-world experience. We want to give you the modern blueprint for earning trust, which is key in what's become, let's be honest, a very spammy online world.
Right. Our mission here is pretty straightforward. We want to provide you, the learner, with a deep, authoritative guide to legitimate strategies, the white hat stuff. We're going to try and separate those really valuable earned links, the ones that signal reputation, from all the unnatural schemes that, either get ignored by Google or, even worse, could land you a penalty.
Exactly. And we really have to start with the core idea here. Professional link building, the kind we're talking about, is fundamentally the process of earning links on other websites, links that actually vouch for your content.
Like a vote of confidence.
Precisely. When a reputable site links to you, it's like an editorial vote. And that vote directly improves your site's reputation and consequently its ranking in Google.
Okay, so what we're not talking about then is self-made links. That's the stuff you kind of manufacture yourself, right? Like links you maybe put in directories or forum signatures.
Yeah, exactly that kind of thing. Google's been crystal clear on this for years. They see those links as unnatural attempts to manipulate rankings. So they'll either penalize you or at the very least just completely discount them. They won't count.
So the big picture then is links still matter a lot.
Oh, absolutely. While Google might downplay it sometimes, saying they're not the only thing, they still matter heavily in almost every competitive niche. But crucially, they're now deeply tied to broader site quality metrics. You just can't separate your link strategy from your overall site quality strategy anymore. Which brings us neatly to the first non-negotiable step.
And that's dealing with your own house first, your own website. The source material is really adamant about this. Before you even think about spending time or money on active link building, you need to fix the quality issues on your site, improve your content.
Exactly right. It's often the cheapest, most fundamental investment you can possibly make. I mean, think about it. If you're building links to a leaky ship, what's the point? All that effort just goes down the drain.
Right.
You absolutely have to ensure the user experience is solid and the content is genuinely top tier first.
And this focus on quality, it ties directly into Google's big measure for sites, doesn't it? EEAT. We hear this acronym all the time.
Experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness.
So what's fascinating is how links sort of function as tangible proof of that EEAT.
Yeah, that's a key insight. Earning those high-quality links, getting mentions on authoritative websites, that's actually a massive part of how Google measures your EET.
Can you give an example?
Sure. So imagine a university, like a .edu site, or maybe a major, well-respected leader in your industry links to some research you published. That link, it doesn't just pass, ranking juice or whatever. It instantly validates your expertise and authoritativeness in Google's eyes.
Okay, so high-quality links aren't just floating out there on their own. They're really a reflection of something good underneath a quality product, a service, or maybe just a piece of really unique, useful, original content.
That's the core of it. If your content isn't naturally attracting attention or shares on its own merit, trying to prop it up with manufactured links, it's just not going to compensate for that fundamental lack of relevance or quality.
Google's just too smart for that now.
Well, they're constantly getting better at identifying and just discarding low-quality links. You can waste so much time and money trying to manipulate the algorithm with links that Google will simply ignore. The better, safer, and ultimately more profitable path. It's making a website so genuinely good that people want to link to it.
Okay. So let's assume we've fixed the leaky roof, we've polished the content, we feel ready to build that genuine EET.
Yeah.
Let's explore the white hat arsenal. What's seen as the most effective, the most legitimate tactic for actually earning those editorial links? The sources mention the content strategy, sometimes called link bait.
Right, and the term link bait can sound a bit cheap, maybe manipulative, but used professionally, it's really just content marketing, specifically designed with the goal of attracting high-quality links. We're not talking about, a quick 500-word blog post here.
No. What are we talking about then?
We mean creating truly original, in-depth, evergreen flagship content, the kind of stuff that becomes a definitive resource.
Okay, give us some concrete examples. What does that look like in practice?
Think about expanded, definitive how-to guides. original industry research presented clearly, maybe with data visualizations, or comprehensive tools that actually solve a common, maybe complex, problem for your audience.
So like if I'm in finance.
Maybe you build the absolute best, most user-friendly retirement calculator out there, or if you're in, say, home repair, perhaps you create a massive, like 10,000-word, fully illustrated guide to diagnosing and fixing common electrical problems, content that is genuinely unique and immediately useful. That stuff naturally generates backlinks and social shares because people find it valuable and reference it.
And a really crucial point sources make is that just creating the content isn't enough. It has to be paired with outreach. It's the difference between publish and pray and publish and promote.
Precisely. You can't just hit publish and hope for the best. You need to actively promote that amazing asset you've created. Reach out to journalists, bloggers, influential webmasters in your niche, especially those who've linked to similar but maybe older or less comprehensive content in the past.
So it's calculated, targeted promotion of something genuinely valuable.
That's where the magic happens. That's professional link earning.
Okay, when we talk about finding high-value sources to target with this outreach, which types of links really move the needle in terms of trust signals for Google?
You're primarily looking for authority. Think high PR, highly trusted domains. We mentioned universities.edu and official government pages.gov. Those are often gold standard.
Right.
Getting links from really reputable niche authority sites, the biggest, most respected names in your specific field, that's absolutely paramount. But interestingly, we shouldn't overlook local tactics either.
Okay, wait a second. The source material actually mentioned something surprising here. It hinted that buying a link might be okay if it's like a local charity sponsorship. That sounds like a huge gray area, almost contradictory to earned links.
It does sound contradictory on the surface, yeah. But this is a nuance Google seems to acknowledge, especially for local businesses. Think about it. Is it natural for a local pizza place to sponsor the town's Little League team? Or for a local accountant to offer a small scholarship via the community college?
Yeah, that seems normal business practice.
Exactly. So if the link you get from the charity's website or the college's sponsor page is clearly a byproduct of a genuine, real-world, positive community activity, it's highly unlikely to trigger a penalty. It's seen as a natural part of being a local business. It supports a good cause.
That makes sense. It's about the intent and the context. It's supporting the community, not just trying to buy PageRank in a shady way.
Precisely. And speaking of legitimate high quality, PR links getting media coverage are often cited as the absolute gold standard, aren't they?
They are. Media links, whether from major news outlets or even reputable niche publications, tend to be the highest quality in terms of trust because they directly feed into your EST. If a journalist chooses to write about you or quote you, it's usually because you demonstrated expertise or had something genuinely newsworthy. That's earned authority right there.
Absolutely.
Okay, what about things like resource pages? You know, those long lists of useful links you sometimes find on websites. Are they still a viable target for outreach?
They can be, but you need to be extremely cautious here. A resource page is only valuable if, and this is a big if, it's on a genuinely authoritative, relevant site. The page itself needs to look like it's actively moderated, well-maintained, and actually related to your niche.
What are the warning signs?
Look for quality control. If the page is just a huge random list of sites, maybe with obviously keyword-stuffed anchor text, or it links out to lots of low-quality or unrelated businesses, Google's probably already ignoring or devaluing that entire page. It's likely seen as a link scheme itself.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which brings us squarely into the danger zone, the avoid list. The black hat stuff. If you're running a real business, this is where you really need to pay attention and probably stop trying to be too clever.
Yeah, this list is pretty much non-negotiable penalty material according to the sources, first and foremost. Never, ever buy links intended to manipulate PageRank, especially if that transaction could somehow be discovered. It's just not worth the risk. Second, avoid private blog networks, or PBNs.
PBNs get mentioned a lot. Just for the learner listening, can you quickly define what a PBN actually is and why they're considered so dangerous?
Sure. So a PBN is basically a secret network of websites. They're often built on expired domains that already have some link history, some authority baked in. The key thing is they are all owned or controlled by the same person or entity, but they're designed to look like separate, independent sites.
And their only purpose?
Their sole purpose is to create artificial links pointing back to a central money site, the site the owner wants to rank. Google's algorithms have gotten incredibly sophisticated at spotting the patterns: shared hosting, IP addresses, registration details, unnatural link profiles that give these networks away. And when they're found, the penalty is usually severe, often hitting not just the PBN sites themselves, but also the main site receiving those manipulative links.
Okay, so PBNs are a definite no-go. Beyond that, what other sort of easy, scalable tactics should we just immediately stop doing?
Pretty much anything designed for link building at scale without any real editorial oversight. Think about do follow blog comments or forum signatures that are just there for the link, article submission services, content syndication where you completely lose control over where your content ends up. These are risky.
And reciprocal linking.
Oh yeah, excessive reciprocal linking. Those old school link to me and I'll link to you schemes. Google sees that as a clear attempt to artificially inflate link counts, not as a genuine endorsement based on merit.
Right. And we can't talk about manipulation without mentioning anchor text. That's the visible, clickable text in a hyperlink. Why is messing with anchor text too much such a huge red flag for Google?
Because natural anchor text is varied. If you run a business selling, say, organic dog food, and suddenly 50% of all your new incoming links use the exact phrase, buy organic dog food online as the anchor text, well, that looks incredibly unnatural.
It screams manipulation.
It does. Google expects to see a mix: your brand name, the URL itself, generic phrases like click here or read more, and yes, some relevant keywords, but all in a natural-looking proportion. Overdoing those exact match keyword-stuffed anchor texts is one of the most blatant signals you can send that you're trying to force a ranking, not earn it.
And this kind of stuff used to be way less risky, didn't it?
Which brings us to the Google Penguin update. Our sources talk about a time, maybe before 2012, where you could, well, throw almost any kind of link at a site and see results. That was definitely the Wild West era of link building, yeah. You could manufacture thousands of low-quality links from directories, article sites, comments, spam, whatever, and often see positive ranking movement. Penguin, when it first launched in 2012, was specifically designed to target and, well, destroy the effectiveness of those manufactured link schemes. It really changed the game.
But the sources highlight an even bigger shift that happened around 2016. What changed with Penguin then?
So around 2016, Penguin became part of Google's core algorithm and started operating in real time. This was huge. Instead of applying these massive site-wide penalties that could take months, sometimes years to recover from after you clean things up.
Yeah, I remember those days. Terrifying.
Right. Instead, the more sophisticated Penguin began to often just ignore or devalue the bad links in real time as it crawled them. It essentially learned to filter out the spam without necessarily nuking the entire site.
That sounds better. It reduced the risk of things like negative SEO, where a competitor could just spam your site with bad links to try and get you penalized.
It did significantly reduce the perceived risk and the effectiveness of negative SEO, yes, because Google got better at just ignoring the junk rather than penalizing the recipient for it. But, and this is a crucial caveat, the risk of penalties isn't completely gone. Not at all.
How so?
Manual actions are still very much a threat. If your site gets flagged for a manual review, perhaps due to other signals or just a random check, and the human web spam team determines there's a clear, calculated intent to manipulate the algorithm, maybe they uncover a massive PBN you built, or evidence of large-scale paid link schemes, they absolutely can and will still issue a manual action penalty.
Okay, so relying on Penguin just ignoring stuff is risky if you're actually doing spammy things intentionally. Let's use that visualization from the sources, the links like lasers idea. Links generate a kind of heat signature or ranking ability. If bad links often just get ignored now, why does Google still seem to hate paid links so passionately?
Because paid links generate undeserved heat. Think about it. If you pay someone, anyone, just to place a link pointing to your site, you're essentially trying to buy that ranking power, that heat signature, without having actually earned the trust or demonstrated the expertise that should naturally generate it.
It's cutting the line.
Exactly. It's unnatural, and in Google's view, it's undemocratic. It undermines the whole idea of search results being a meritocracy based on quality and authority. You're trying to cheat the system.
So, following that logic, does a link from a known major spam site potentially hurt you more than just a neutral, ignored link? Not because of the link juice itself, but because it signals that intent to manipulate.
It points towards an unnatural pattern, absolutely. While Penguin might filter out any ranking value from that spam link, if your overall link profile shows an aggressive, intentional pattern of acquiring links from clearly manipulative sources, that pattern itself signals a disregard for quality guidelines. It increases the likelihood you might get flagged for that manual review we talked about. The goal should always be to look like a genuine, trusted business whose links are growing organically over time.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Okay, let's pivot back to strategy now. Let's talk about one of the most highly recommended white hat tactics, which, interestingly, is fundamentally an act of link manipulation, but it's one Google seems to actually love.
Yeah.
Broken link building and reclamation.
Yes, this is a fantastic tactic, often described as a win-win, because when done right, it genuinely improves the web for everyone involved. There are two parts to it, really. Reclamation is the internal housekeeping part.
What does that involve?
That's simply finding and fixing broken links on your own website. Links that point to pages you've deleted or moved. Use 301 redirects to point those old URLs to the new, relevant content. It's just good site health maintenance. Stops you losing any value from links pointing to those dead pages.
Okay, basic housekeeping. What about the external opportunity spotting part? That sounds more like active link building.
That's where the real outreach opportunity lies. You use SEO tools, things like Ahrefs, Moz, SEMrush, have features for this to identify authoritative websites in your niche that have external broken links. Links on their site pointing out to some other website that now shows a 404 error, page not found.
Right.
You then reach out politely to the editor or webmaster of that site. You let them know, hey, I noticed this link on your page about topic is broken. And then you add, I happen to have a comprehensive, up-to-date resource on that same topic here, linked to your great content. Perhaps it would be a useful replacement for your readers.
So practically speaking, say I find a major industry blog, and they have a link in an old article pointing to a study from 2019 that's now gone. I find that broken link. I could email them saying, hey, saw your link to the 2019 study is broken. Just wanted to let you know I actually published a big 2024 update covering similar ground. Might be helpful for your readers.
Precisely that. It's perfect outreach. The site owner is usually happy because you've helped them fix an error on their site, improving their user experience. And you potentially get a high-quality, editorially placed link that is 100% legitimate because you provided genuine value to their audience by suggesting a relevant working replacement. It's the ideal form of strategic, helpful link acquisition.
That's clever. Okay, what about looking at competitors? The advice seems to be use them for inspiration, definitely, but don't just blindly copy their backlinks. Why is that distinction so important?
Because you have absolutely zero insight into the history or the current value of their links. Their site might appear to have 100 great-looking links that you envy, but you simply don't know if, say, 90 of those links have already been devalued or ignored by Penguin in real time, or maybe the site even received manual warnings or penalties in the past related to those links.
So blindly copying is just inheriting their potential problems.
Exactly. You could be copying links that are already toxic or worthless. Instead, use competitor analysis tools to identify the types of high-quality linkable assets that your successful competitors seem to have earned. Look at their best-performing content, the unique research, the really definitive guides, the popular tools. Use that success as inspiration to create something even better, more comprehensive, more up-to-date on your own site. Then promote your superior asset.
Okay, that makes sense. Use them for ideas, not for a shopping list. Now, here's where things get really interesting and maybe a bit confusing for listeners. There seems to be a fundamental philosophical conflict in the advice webmasters get, specifically looking at Google versus, say, Bing and Yahoo.
Yes, this is a fascinating point raised in the source material. Google's official webmaster guidelines, they tend to be quite idealistic, almost puritanical about links. They state pretty clearly that links should be purely editorially vouched for. They imply that any link you actively ask for is inherently unnatural.
They almost suggest you shouldn't even know a link is coming. It should just appear magically as an organic endorsement.
That's the implication, yeah. That true white hat links are spontaneous gifts bestowed upon worthy content. Asking is against the spirit, if not the letter, of their guidelines.
But then you look at the webmaster guidelines from Bing, and maybe historically Yahoo too, and they offer the exact opposite advice.
It's quite striking, isn't it? Bing's guidelines have explicitly encouraged webmasters to, and I quote loosely here, simply ask websites for links and to correspond with webmasters of related sites, specifically to increase the number of links pointing to your site.
That's a direct contradiction. So for the listener running a business, this creates a huge strategic dilemma, doesn't it? If Bing, a major search engine, is telling me to actively ask for links, why should I potentially risk trouble with Google, the dominant player, by following Bing's advice, or vice versa?
It is a profound open conflict in guidance from major search providers. It puts webmasters in a tricky position.
So what's the practical, safe path forward here? How do you navigate this when the two biggest search entities seem to disagree so fundamentally on the simple act of outreach?
Well, the consensus from the sources and generally accepted best practice leans towards adhering to the spirit of Google's guidelines because they hold the most market share and penalty risk while still acknowledging the practical reality of outreach. Meaning, the safest foundation, always, is focusing on creating content so outstandingly good that people genuinely want to link to it without being asked. That's the ideal. However, the reality is, especially for newer sites or content, some outreach, some asking is often necessary just to get the ball rolling, to get your content discovered in the first place.
So if you do reach out, how do you do it carefully in a way that respects Google's spirit, even if you're technically asking?
The key is in the framing of the ask. You must focus on the value your content provides to their audience. Never, ever mention wanting a link for SEO reasons or suggest specific anchor text or offer reciprocal favors like, I'll link to you if you link to me.
Make it about them, not about you.
Precisely. Frame your outreach around helping them fix a problem, like a broken link, or providing a superior, more current resource for their readers, or offering unique data they might find interesting. The ask should be about adding value to their site and audience, not explicitly about boosting your rankings.
Okay, that feels like the right strategic balance. Build the amazing asset first, then conduct highly targeted, value-driven outreach that genuinely benefits the recipient site.
That's exactly it. The best advice really boils down to build a unique, in-depth, linkable asset, maintain a varied, natural-looking linking strategy over time, and obsessively avoid anything that looks like bulk manipulation or low-quality shortcuts.
And this all takes patience, doesn't it? Ranking in really competitive spaces today isn't quick. It demands that high-quality content, relevance, building reputation, and above all, earning trust over time.
Absolutely. The sources are clear.
Yep.
The easiest links to get are almost always the lowest quality in the long run. They offer diminishing returns and sometimes carry risks. Real sustainable ranking takes time and consistent effort on quality.
So always remember the long game. Building that EET. The ultimate goal isn't just accumulating links, it's becoming the recognized authoritative source in your niche.
And there's a fascinating point the sources make about reaching the top. Once you actually achieve that #1 ranking in the search result for a really high-value query, something interesting happens.
What's that?
You start picking up more natural links almost effortlessly simply because you're already ranked at the top. People naturally link to the #1 result when referencing that topic.
It becomes a self-reinforcing loop. Success breeds more links, which reinforces success.
Exactly. Which means the ultimate long-term strategy, the most powerful thing you can do, always circles back to making your website, your content, your user experience fundamentally better. The links tend to follow genuine authority, not the other way around.
That's a powerful thought. So for your closing thought today, consider the power of that self-reinforcing loop. If being #1 naturally attracts more high-quality links, maybe the single most impactful strategic decision you can make today isn't sending out a dozen outreach emails asking for links, but perhaps spending the next month deeply updating, expanding, and improving your single most important, potentially linkable piece of content to make it undeniably the best resource available. Start there.